Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Anna and today we are talking about investing. So if you've been watching my channel, then we've actually been talking about investment this whole time because I've talked a lot about my property in Joshua Tree, California, which is an investment property that I'm building to be an Airbnb. But this is a really big investment that I know isn't attainable to everybody. So I want to talk about the other investments that I made along the way up to this point that I think are a bit more attainable if you're getting started in the space. These are all places that you can invest $1,000 or really whatever you have available. And I'm extra excited to be talking about this today because when I did a search for investments and finance videos on YouTube, really what I got back was a bunch of videos put out there by men. And this isn't new. Finance is typically a male-dominated space. And this bothers me because finance and investing is for everybody. We all manage money at some point in our lives. So I'm excited to be putting out this video as a woman in the space to hopefully bring a new perspective. I'm not an expert in this space. In fact, I'm very far from it. I'm still learning as I go. But a few years ago, I got into stock because the company that I work for actually pays a huge part of my salary in company stock. Because of this, I had to go into a deep dive to learn more about how to manage my stock and when to sell and when to hold and how to deal with taxes. So I've gotten pretty familiar with the space just because of that. And to be honest, I don't have this big passion for finance and stock and investing, but I don't think that that should matter. Everybody is going to manage money at some point in their life, and the more that you know about this space, the better off you're gonna be. And as always, don't just take advice, especially financial advice, from random people on the internet. Do your own research and form your own opinions, because at the end of the day, it's your money and it's your financial situation, and you're the only person who can know what's best for yourself. And with that, let's get into it. So you can't talk about investments without first talking about risk versus reward. This is probably the most fundamental and important thing for you to understand if you're looking to invest $1,000 or $100 or whatever it might be. Usually if you stand to make a lot of money, you also risk losing a lot of money. High reward investments come with a lot of risk. And the reverse is too true, right? If you don't want a risky investment, then chances are you're also not going to make a lot of money off of it. There are benefits to both sides of this, and it's really a question to ask yourself. Why are you investing to begin with? What are you hoping to use this money on? Will you need to pull the money out of your investment after 1 year, after 5 years, after 50 years? And if you lost all that money that you invested, how much would it hurt you financially? My rule of thumb is to never make a risky investment with money that I need to live my day-to-day life. So if you have $1,000 burning a hole in your pocket, the first thing that I would do with it is pay off your debt. I know that this isn't the sexy and exciting answer that you're looking for, but it's really important that before you invest any money, you take a good, hard look at your financial situation and do what you can to address the debt that you have. Everyone has a different threshold for debt and different debt that you need to pay off. It's not all the same. I do have a car payment that I pay every month, so technically I owe the bank for that amount of money for my car. That's not the kind of debt that you necessarily need to just go in and pay off in full. You should keep chipping away at that. It doesn't make sense to put all that money to pay off your car at once. But if you have something like credit card debt that you let sit in your account month after month after month, that's snowballing into so much money that you're losing that you should pay that off. Every month I go into my account and I pay off my 2 credit cards so the balance goes down to 0. No matter what. And you should never be buying things and putting them on your credit card that you can't pay off at the end of the month. So if you're in that habit, I highly recommend that you break it because it's not helping you and you're not going to be able to turn your money into anything else. You're just constantly going to be caught in this cycle of paying off your credit card. This doesn't mean don't buy nice things and charge them to your credit card. Just be really mindful of what you're getting. The next thing I've done to help grow my net worth, and I recommend you doing if you have a spare $1,000, is to put your money into a savings account. I know, again, this isn't sexy and it's not some fancy investment, but again, it's really important. If you don't have a savings of 3 to 6 months ready to go, then you should start contributing to that. If my job were to fire me tomorrow, I would, one, be really upset, but I would be okay because one of the things that I've done is create a savings account with some money in it. In fact, I recommend if you get a regular paycheck every month that you just do this automatically. If you have to think about it, then you're not gonna do it. I'm the same way. What I do is as soon as I get paid, my money gets routed to the areas that it needs to go, so I never have to think about it. So any of the savings that I need, I actually route to a tool that I recommend, and it's called Betterment. Betterment is actually an investment app, and it's a great tool to help you grow your money responsibly. One of their options is a high yield savings account. So as soon as I get paid, a chunk of my money gets routed to my Betterment account and it goes into the savings account. High yield savings accounts are a great way to safely, with low risk, grow your money over time. So basically your money will sit in this account like it would in your regular savings account, but you'll earn a small percentage of this back. Now, like I mentioned before, anything that is low risk will have low reward in most cases, and this is one of those cases. If you put $1,000 into your high yield savings account, you're not gonna get $1,000 back out. You're gonna get more like $5. And if you're doing this over time, then this can add up over time. It's a good way to set your investments and then not think about it, which is my preferred way of doing things. So the next way that you can invest $1,000 is actually kind of an atypical way, but I think it's the most important and definitely my favorite way that you can spend your money, and that is investing in yourself. Invest in your education, invest in your hobbies, invest in something that you're passionate about that could potentially help you make money down the road. The reason why I think this is so important is because growing your skills is probably one of the fastest and most direct ways that you can grow your opportunity to create wealth. For me, probably the best example that I have of this is a few years ago, I decided that I wanted to get into the field of data science. And the way that I did that is I invested money in myself so I could learn a new field. And I'm not saying that you should go out and do this. This was more than $1,000 and it probably took a year of my life to do. But my point is that I invested probably more on the order of $10,000. I took a data science boot camp and the return on that investment was literally huge. I literally doubled the income that I was making prior to doing that. And this isn't like a go out and do a boot camp kind of like commercial. I think that's a cool route and we can talk about it if you're interested. But my point is that in taking the time and money to invest in myself, I was able to grow my skills and then directly grow my net worth and wealth and opportunities because of that. Take that $1,000 and invest it back in yourself. You could take that money and take a class at like a local community college in photography or in coding or in web design, some skill that maybe you have some interest in and that you could turn into maybe a side gig that you do after your regular job. I think that this is a great way to mix your own personal passion with finance and trying to move your life in the direction of doing what you actually want to do and learn how to make money off of it. And finally, this brings us to stocks. Investing in stocks is a lot like gambling, and you should know that if it's something that you're gonna get into. Nobody, no matter what they tell you, can predict the stock market. I think we all remember the stock market crashing in 2008 and what a big impact that had on all of our society. I think you also probably remember the stock market in 2020 and how volatile it was, especially at the start of COVID. With this option, there is a high reward, but also a really high risk. If you want to dip your toes into the stock market without really fully going down and buying like your own individual stock, I recommend doing one of two things. These are both things that I've done myself. One is, like I mentioned at the beginning, open up an account with Betterment. Not only do they have the high yield savings account option that I mentioned, but they also have an opportunity to put money into stocks that they choose, and you can set the amount of risk that you're willing to tolerate. And so, for example, if you're looking to buy a house in the next 5 years, you might have something that is a bit lower risk, but the app will help you kind of adjust for that. This is a really cool, easy way to invest your money where you don't have to think about it too much. The other thing that you can do if you're new to stocks and you wanna, again, like test it out a little bit before like fully committing, that is looking into index funds. To explain a bit further, an index fund is basically a collection of a bunch of stocks put together, and probably the most popular and well-known one is the S&P 500. This is basically a group of 500 of the largest stocks all rolled into one stock that you can buy into. So for example, if you're interested in investing in the S&P 500, you can open up a brokerage account. I use Robinhood, and I guess sidebar, I know that Robinhood has had a lot of controversy over the past few months. I'm not saying use Robinhood or don't use Robinhood. I'm saying go with whatever you want to use, but find the tool that works best for you and open that up and search for the S&P 500 Vanguard, and you can put money into that. I highly recommend investing in index funds because they follow the market over time. One thing that we know when we look at stocks is that the market in general will trend up over time. So while individual stocks may fall and rise, the market as a whole will continue to rise. And so investing in a larger grouping of stocks is a safe place to put your money, typically because it's going to grow over time. I should mention though that if you're gonna go this route, this isn't something that you put money in and like watch it every day to see your money grow. If you're looking for a good place to start in the stock market, I recommend looking at index funds. If you have $1,000 to spend and you're okay with potentially losing it overnight, you can start looking into individual stocks. I keep about $3,000 of my personal money that I put into my account, and then I've watched it literally tank to $2,000 and grow to almost $4,000 over time. This is what I mean by stocks can be really volatile. And I'll even share which stocks I've invested in because again, this is like something that I do just for fun that I feel like I can take out at any point. And those are Apple, Peloton, Microsoft, Avalara, and then a silver stock called First Majestic Silver. These have all had varying levels of success. They're not always hitting it out of the park all the time. I think Peloton has done really well, so maybe check them out. But this kind of brings me to my next point, and that is don't just take random stock advice from people that you think might know a lot about the stock market. I mean this really sincerely. If you have a friend that's like, yeah, you should invest in GameStop, don't just do what they say because you think that they know what they're talking about. Go do your own research and make sure that you understand what you're putting your money into. Remember that creating a strong foundation for yourself and paying off debt and opening up a savings account that you contribute to is probably the most beneficial way for you to spend money if you haven't done those things already. And I think that covers everything. If you made it to this point in the video, thanks for sticking around. I know that there was a lot of information covered. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video so I know that you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.